What's going on, guys? So we got Jordan Hicks here compared with Justin Verlander, both hard throwers, obviously. Both do a lot of things really, really well within their pitching delivery. And what I want to highlight today is essentially their hip drive and then their head posture as they enter their drive phase. So what you're going to see is Hicks going to be a guy that really showcases his ability to hold that corkscrew of that drive hip and essentially hold that external rotation for a long period of time, where Verlander is going to be more towards getting that hip drive going and getting into hip extension. All right, so again, Hicks here on the left, notice, I know the video angle is not directly to the side, but as he now descends from his leg lift and enters his drive phase, like I mentioned, he does a really good job with this hip and knee position, holding that, essentially that external rotation, hip hinge, corkscrew the hip, enter whatever phrase you want to enter there. And then notice how he's going to stay in the center mass with his head. Okay, so this is going to allow him to truly accelerate throughout the whole entire drive and maximize the slope and maximize gravity. So he shows a tremendous ability to maximize hip capacity. So his movements from his hips, right? So we see no limitations there. Usually we'll see guys that lack a lot of hip external and internal rotation, or mostly just external rotation, and then this trail hip, right, the drive hip, will then start to kind of internally rotate pretty early. Hicks showcases the ability to maximize that capacity. Again, head posture, maybe about 60-40 entering his drive phase. So his acceleration is good. His acceleration is good, and his ground force production is really well. He's staying grounded, and now what you're going to see is a kinetic timing of arm raise, and essentially that was a terrible circle, meant to be there, and internal rotation. So we're maximizing kinetic energy now up from the ground out through the ball hand. And notice where his head goes: center mass, internal rotation, arm raise, center, a little bit forward, and then now boom. So now what he's done is he's accelerated into front foot strike. Okay, he's going to stabilize with that lead leg. His head is now about 60-40. So what we like to see with guys usually have front foot contact, full front foot strike, is about that 60-40 energy from the back to the front. I don't know why I keep drawing circles. So he's accelerated into his front foot strike, and he's able to brace with that lead leg, extension, late launch, efficient glove side, and you're going to notice, let me zoom out a little bit, you're going to notice from the beginning of his delivery, when we talked about that hip drive and controlling that head, he now can maximize hip extension. So we see that trail leg staying long and that lead leg bracing. I'm terrible at drawing straight lines out through the fingertips. So obviously Hicks, you have to do a lot of things really well to be able to throw 105, and don't tell me, oh, well, he had Tommy John. You try to throw 100 and see what happens. But obviously moves extremely well and really just does a lot of things pretty freaking efficient throughout his whole delivery, and utilizing leverage, momentum, acceleration, ground force, all of that, and stabilization. So now when we go to Verlander, he's going to be doing the same thing. He's going to increase his forward momentum pre-peak leg lift, right? So you're going to see his body start to move forward, this forward momentum, and this is going to accelerate himself into his drive, right? So it's a really good tool to utilize in order to increase your acceleration rate down the mound. So now you're going to see him drop into that same pattern we saw with Hicks, and that trail hip, kind of that corkscrew, external rotation, hold, and now he's going to maximize hip extension from hip internal rotation. Okay, so notice where his head is throughout this whole delivery, right? You don't see anything really trying to defy that gravity. He's accepting that gravity. He's utilizing that gravity and that slope to his benefit. So he's able to have the body awareness to control head and essentially keep his head relatively in the center mass of his body, which is going to drive that hip into that hip drive, and then boom, he's going to be a little bit different than Hicks was at full front foot contact. As far as 60-40 goes, he's probably about maybe a little bit forward with center cut. But still able to brace, gets the hand up, hand goes up with hip at internal rotation, brace, boom, hip drive, and go. Good. All right. Well, yeah, I wanted to break down those two guys. I think they both do obviously a lot of things really, really well. But I guess the key point here is take note of is they're not attempting to defy the gravity, right? I think a lot of people, we see a lot of breakdowns on the mound due to the slope. We're the only overhead athletes to throw on a slope. And so what happens is you see a lot of kids that try to do try to defy that gravity by keeping their head posture back, keeping their trunk back, and then you'll start seeing in their drive that they create this, this back hip abduction, which limits the amount of drive and acceleration that you can get down the mound. So, any high power output guy, maybe they do initially control that head posture in their forward move, but then they go with gravity. They use gravity to their benefit in that acceleration. So, yeah, good stuff. Good. I love doing these things, man. These are fun. All right. Talk to you guys later.